What's up, guys? Back here working on the K1 Attack. I got some parts today, bunch of electrical stuff. So we're gonna be working on some wiring today. I'm pretty excited about this. I haven't ever tried something like this before, but for this build, I got an actual power distribution module from Leash Electronics. It's like a built-in deal. It's got all the relays, it's got all the inputs, outputs, all that stuff for headlights, taillights, various ignition sources, all those things. We're gonna try it out on this. It looks like a really nice unit. I'm pretty excited about this. They got, they sent me this. They got all the little terminals I need, and all my instructions, of course, for what the various inputs and outputs do. I've also got my battery cable. I've also got a nice little push to start PKE alarm deal. Basically what I decided is that the ignition on this would work. I've got the column is out of 03 to 07 Accord. I'm sure I talked about it before, but basically to use that, essentially I have to use a Honda key. Well, to me, it looks kind of weird having a Honda key and then having it on a K1 Attack. Yes, it has a Honda engine, it uses Honda parts. It's still kind of weird. Plus, it's got buttons on it, and I'm not going to use the buttons. Yeah, I could get on the key maybe, but I'm like, what would be a lot cooler is if I had a push to start button. And so I'm going to try out this system. It's got these key fobs that come with it, so it's actually going to allow me to do some things that I was kind of thinking about doing as far as, remote keyless entry, that kind of stuff. I don't know if I'm going to put door locks in it, but I have considered putting in door poppers. Maybe that might be one of the things that I might consider doing. And it's also got, it's got buttons for various things I could do. It's got a trunk pop button, so maybe, I could use that for doors. I could use that for maybe the rear lid, the front. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but it gives me a lot of options, and that's cool. So I think what I'm going to do is we're going to start getting to figuring out all this wiring, because I've also got my adapter harness for, basically this is just just a cheap, it's like a EG Civic adapter harness for K series. Obviously I'm gonna have to do a lot of modification for this because this isn't an EG, but we got a whole lot of wiring to do, so we should probably get to it. All right, so one of the first things that I'm trying to figure out essentially is where I want to mount this module. And I keep coming up with various different ideas, and some of the ideas that I had were possibly in the kind of on the right side footwell, the passenger side, or maybe even the left side over there, kind of in the rocker panel. And the only thing that even though I have room there and I could put it there, my issues that I have with that are that I have my coolant tubes in there, so it's going to create a lot of heat in that area, even though I'm going to have them insulated. Also, in the event of a leak at one of the hoses that are kind of up in the wheel wells, there's a chance that fluid would travel down that pipe and drip onto the module, and I don't want that. The other thing is possibly a lot of dust. I'm going to try to seal it up the best I can, but it is directly behind the front wheel, so I don't know. Also, there's a lot of areas in here that I've been kind of considering, under the dash, kind of on the driver's side, passenger side, I don't know. At the moment, I think the best option that I can come up with is, I think what I want to do is I want to install this module basically right here behind the passenger side footwell. The main reason for that is there's actually room between where the glove box is, the bottom of the dash, and the bottom of this, or the top of this. So my thoughts is that if I can mount it here, not only is it close to the ECU, it's also within range of the battery, which is going to be up there, not too far away, and then also it's going to make things a lot better, because I'm not going to have heat directly here. There shouldn't be any fluid leaks in this area. I can also mount it in an area that it's not going to be at some goofy angle. It is going to be angled kind of like this, but my thoughts is what I want to do is cut out the top of this, basically right in here. I'll cut a square hole in there and basically put some hinges on it and some sort of latch, so that if I need to check the relays, fuses, any of these, or even add an input-output, I can just drop this panel down and access it pretty easily. And that's kind of one of the reasons that I didn't want to mount it in other locations in the car, because I knew that they would be difficult to get to, especially once the dash is in, the doors, the seats. It's really tight in this cabin. So I think this is really the best option, because I can have the door open and I can see it right there. So I think the first plan of action is I need to figure out how to mount a bracket right here so that I can mount this. I will say I was a little sketched out about the way these things mount. Like, it's just got these little tabs here. And I was kind of worried about this plastic, but I will say this plastic is pretty thick and it feels pretty rugged. So I think I will be fine just mounting it by these. And then also I think I might use some double stick tape just to not only insulate it from a little bit of vibration, but also give it a little bit, better contact area so it's not only pulling on the tabs. But let's get designing some sort of bracket and then we'll figure it out from there. All right, this is what I came up with. Just did a couple nut certs, screwed some holes in it. This plate's really thick, it's 1/8 inch thick. But it sure as hell isn't gonna flex or vibrate or move, that's for sure, once it's welded in. But yeah, it's gonna work out really good. The clearances are super, super tight. It fits really nice in there. I think once I get the double stick tape in there, it'll be perfect, because obviously there's a little bit of space. It's gonna sit up because of the nut certs, but once that tape's in there, we'll be good. So now I just need to grind this part back, get it about where it needs to be, and then I'll probably use like a block of wood to space this out a little bit, and then weld her in. So I welded it in a little bit differently than I said. Originally I was gonna weld it, kind of at an angle, but I realized after the fact that I'd never be able to get the fuel tank out if I needed to, once that's all in there. So this will allow me to get the fuel tank out. And not only that, I was able to tie into here, so it's got a little bit more support, so it's not gonna just kind of, fall off there. I did throw a little bit of paint on there just for, whatever, so it doesn't rust, but I think this is gonna work out pretty good. Once I have that cut out, like I said, with an access hole, I think it'll still be easy to get to the fuses. I think I might actually weld in a second plate over here and get a second relay box, because this one right here, it's not gonna, I thought it was gonna, in my mind originally, I thought it was gonna do everything I needed it to do. That's not the case. It's only gonna do a good majority of it. I need another relay box that has like higher amperage relays. Basically so I can run fans, fuel pump, that kind of stuff, because this one, the more I read into it, it's not really meant to be running those kind of things. Like, this is mostly for, lights and small accessories, stuff like that, that's like lower amperage. So I think doing that second relay box, it'll fit right here. Once that access hole is big enough, I should be able to get to all of this, and it'll be all in one spot, and that'll be nice. I won't have to go around looking for fuses in different areas. It'll be all one area if I ever have a problem. So it turns out I was wrong. I test fit the dash, so I was trying to figure something else out, and realized that my nut cert was actually hitting the dash, causing it to not go down. So I ended up having to cut this off. And now I got it bent down to a spot where at this spot, it's not hitting the dash. So I'm gonna try and get a weld in here, at least in this corner, to hold it in, and then maybe fill this in and grind it down a little bit. But that really sucked. I was trying to figure out where I wanna put some of the other stuff, because I've got this Easy Guard, this push to start alarm deal, and I was trying to figure out where I wanted to put this control unit. I'm kind of leaning towards like kind of in here, which means I'm gonna have to put a plate in there, just weld in something. This one doesn't have to be very thick, because it's gonna be supported on 2 legs. This one didn't either, but it just so happened that it was the exact right size, so it worked out really good. But I'll see if I have some plate, and then I'm gonna try and figure out exactly where I want this, but I gotta weld this one first, so let's do that. Okay. Dash is back in, plates welded back in there, and we're not touching. So I think we're good on that. Okay, after a lot of playing around, I think I figured out where I'm gonna actually mount that module. I think I'm gonna put it right back in there behind the cluster, because the cluster is realistically only gonna take up this much space. So there's gonna be a ton of room back there. So I think if I can just pick a spot back there. And honestly, since the dash isn't ready to go in yet, I think I can just wire it up and just kind of zip tie it up to, something in here, and then just plan on, mounting it there when the dash is ready to go in. But since nothing has to be hardwired, I can unplug everything. It won't be a big deal. I can just unplug, plug it, whatever. Yeah, so I think that'll work out good. After watching that video, you might be thinking, well, why doesn't he put all the fucking modules back there? You know what? That's a good idea. Now I'm sitting here like, dude, I got all this room back in here. Why don't I just put both of those modules back in there? Then you can see This is literally all the room this screen takes up. Like, once I get a plate and everything. I got tons of room. And literally, all I have to do is like 2 bolts and I can get that thing off and get to all the fuses that I need to get to. I mean, honestly, I will say that does require me unbolting something versus if I put something over here with the cover, I could get right to it. But like realistically, even if I want to get that open, I still have to have a screwdriver to get the top part off to get to the fuses. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like that makes sense. And I'm kind of wondering at this point if maybe I should just, that other relay box I get, I'll put that relay box over here and then have this main one right here, because a lot of it is like, you know, ignition and you know, wipers and turn signals and all that stuff. Well, guess what? All the wiring is right here. It can run it, like it won't even have to be a long loom. That'll make shit so much easier. Plus like ignition, I can have everything for all of that stuff because this is gonna have to go away, but you know, push button and everything. I don't know. This makes a lot of sense, guys. Okay, before I get too deep into wiring, I needed to figure out where to put my battery kill switch, which like I kind of talked about before, got this battery kill switch. Basically, this is kind of what I am thinking about doing. I realized that I had some of these 1-inch tube clamps kind of hanging around that I had left over from the Exo set. And now I'm thinking I'm gonna mount it something like this, basically. I already test fit it with that piece of fiberglass that kind of goes under there, and it fits pretty good. And I think by doing it kind of this angle, it's gonna end up lining up with this line pretty nice. It's gonna sit pretty damn straight. And I think it's gonna be really accessible. It'll kind of even this out. And I'm gonna do it from 1/8 inch plate because I got a whole bunch of it and it's really thick and it's not gonna flex. So I've got it all marked out here. I'm gonna go through, cut it out, and see if I can make it happen. Okay, spent a lot of time getting this all drilled out. This is pretty much what I got in mind. Basically, I ended up using 2 of those collars because I actually had 2 of them. So I was like, you know what? I might as well utilize them because then I have a bit more support at the bottom. I just need to get some bolts for the bottom because I don't have the correct ones. I just have these really long ones. And then I need to figure out how I'm gonna mount this plate on there, maybe rivets. I haven't decided yet. Yeah, I might do some support here, but honestly, this metal is so thick, I don't even think it needs it. Like, this thing is, it is stout. I'll show you with the hood closed here in a second. All right, I got some shorter bolts, so I was actually able to bolt it on, and this is pretty much where it's gonna be. I ended up tweaking this bracket just a little bit because I decided it was kind of sitting like this. It was lined up with this, and I was like, man, that looks kind of weird. So I straightened it out, so now it's like straight with the front of the car. And I think it works pretty damn well because I think once I do that grill mesh, since I'm gonna have the grill mesh probably straight in here, I don't know, it might cover up this too, but even if it's just perfectly straight, I think that'll look a lot better than having it some weird angle. So let's move on. Okay, now that I got that figured out, I threw a battery in here. This is just a temporary battery because I have it laying around. I think I'm gonna run an Odyssey battery, which is gonna be quite a bit smaller, but it's still gonna sit in this general vicinity. So I wanted to get, at least to get these cables kind of figured out and give them a little bit of extra slack just in case I move them. But this ground, I got this one all done. Cleaned that up, ran a nut cert into it, got that bolted on, got this one all figured out. More than likely, I'm probably gonna run different ends on here because the Odyssey battery comes with like some different like smaller kind of ends that I like better than these. But for the moment, they'll work. So now I just need to make a power wire to go from there to here and then figure out where I'm gonna run it through to everything else. Okay, I've been doing a bunch of work off camera. I've got this main cable going to the battery. That one is probably going to be temporary because it's honestly a little bit too short, but I'm just using what I have to work with. And since I'm going to be running a different battery anyway, I'll probably redo it, but that's all right. For the moment, it'll work. And then you can kind of see right in there, I've got that other cable ran through the firewall right there. There's a grommet. I've got it coming out of there. It's basically running down along the side of the fuel tank underneath there to the starter. It's just kind of hanging out at the moment, but it's all figured out. So now I just need to run another one from here, and I want to run it basically through the firewall to like basically where the cluster is, because I'm going to run that directly to my power distribution module, because this has an input for your terminal 30 coming in right there. So we're gonna end up doing that, and we should be set on that part. Oof, got it all painted up, got it riveted on. Oh man, it looks so good, guys. She's fucking solid. I got all the cables hooked up. All the battery cables are done at this point. I actually put some engine grounds back there. So I'm really ready to do all the small wiring. I've got, I got this cable ran through for the, for that module. So it's ready to go. Yeah, guys, we're getting somewhere. All right, guys, I think that's gonna be it on this one. Got the battery cables done. That's good. Now we're ready for that small wiring. So I got a whole bunch to do, and I think I've talked enough for today. So make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things. Peace out.